What is rolling, everybody? You're watching a brand new video here on the Car Boot Collectors YouTube channel, and today we're going in with a big one. This is the first car boot sale haul of 2021. So yeah, the lockdown restrictions in the UK obviously were lifted a couple of weeks ago. This was only the second week the car boot sales have been back on, and I think people were just itchy to get out and sell their junk. So there was a lot of people there selling this week. The weather was really nice too, which obviously helps. So there was a lot of stalls, and there was some really nice stuff came out. So obviously you can see here from my haul, got a bit of an interesting spread of different types of collectibles. We've got some of the more antique stuff, got some comics, we've got some Lego, and we've got some, you know, general toys, action figures. Nothing really too exciting in the way of toys this week, but a few nice bits and pieces. And a few other more sort of random collectibles. If you're new to the channel, this is what I do here, buying and selling toys and collectibles generally. But I like to pick up some slightly more oddball, antique-y collectible things as well. Anything that catches my eye is definitely in the crosshair of things that I'm likely to pick up. So there you go, let's get on in and show you what I purchased. So I don't know how we're going to do it this week. I think I'm going to start... I want to start off with something interesting, but nothing that I'm going to talk for like too long about. I don't know. Let's start off with the Lego, I suppose. This will get people staying in the video. I don't know. This is like, you know, if you're new to the channel, this is how I do it here. I do car boot haul videos like this on the fly, one take. I'm not a big fan of the YouTube channels that do the GoPro stock music type thing, so that's not really what I aim to go for. I'm just aiming to show what I bought. That's the aim of these videos, and hopefully it's entertaining. So yeah, let's get in and show you what I purchased. We'll stop nattering. Okay, so this little bundle of Lego you see before you here, this was like the last thing I picked up in the day, and I gave the guy £60 for this little bundle, which I was quite happy with, to be completely honest. There's not a lot of stuff here, but it's in pretty nice condition. Obviously some of it's boxed. It looks like it's been well looked after. It looks like it's been assembled, put on a shelf, and then brought to the car boot. So, you know, it's like really nice condition, looks relatively complete, just a little dusty. And there's some quite nice stuff here. So we've got some of the slightly older, you know, not terribly old. These are sort of, I don't know, 5-6 year old Technic sets. We've got the police plane. But this was what drew me to it, really, was the Hobbit Walk Attack set, and this looks relatively complete. It's certainly got the minifigures, which, I mean, ultimately, if the set's incomplete, if you've got the minifigures, and that's most of the value, to be honest, isn't it? So yeah, quite a nice little bundle of stuff. As I say, I gave the guy £60 for this stuff. He was very like, I don't think he was expecting someone to just buy all of it. I was like, how much for all of it? Boom. And he was like, oh, I don't know. And he ended up eventually being like, I want 20 quid for that, 10 for that. And so it came to 60 quid. He had a couple of other nice bits I would have bought, but he just wanted too much. He had like a box of just random loose Lego, but there was a few minifigures in there, and he wanted like 30 quid for, and I wasn't too keen on that. And he had a PS2 Slim with no cables, no games, and he wanted 20 quid for that. I was like, bloody hell, take that home with you. I ain't paying 20 quid, and I don't think anybody else will. So anyway, 60 quid. Unfortunately, the Warg set, to say it all looks pretty nice condition. It looks like it's been well looked after. It looks like this has been displayed in a window, though. You can see some of the pieces are a bit discoloured, so that will affect the value. But the minifigures aren't too bad. The Warg, that one has got some discoloration on that side, which is a shame. But you know, as I say, the Warg set complete is worth 75. There's good value in the other stuff once it's put together. And even if this set is incomplete, the Wargs are worth pretty good money on their own. This one runs about 25. This one with the damage will probably be a little less. So yeah, not a bad little bundle. To be completely honest, I was thinking in my mind when I bought these, oh, it's a nice time in nice weather, sit in the garden with a cider, sorting these bad boys out, and there'll be a little bit of money in there after the end. There's probably a good sort of £200 worth of sets there once they're put together and cleaned up, so quite a nice find. So we'll move over here then. We've got a Pirates of the Caribbean Will Turner figure. These were the sort of 7-inch action-y ones made by Zizzle. These turned up in Poundland about 10 years ago. These aren't the most desirable toys, but it was only a couple of quid, and I couldn't leave it behind for that. It's only probably worth, you know, in this condition, it's probably not even worth a tenner, but still, it was a couple of quid. I couldn't leave it behind. These Pirates of the Caribbean figures are starting to pick up a little bit of a collector following, more the 3 3/4 inch ones. But it was one of them things I was sort of thinking, do I buy it or not? And then I was like, it's £2. Give the man the money. So I did. Next up, we got this from right here. Now, I got a bit excited when I found this because I think this one used to be worth quite a bit of money. It's not worth a whole lot anymore. But we've got Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory. Of course, this funny fellow here, of course, says Bazinga. It's a barrel of laughs for everyone. And this is a Funko Wacky Wobbler, the Entertainment Earth variant, where he's in the Green Lantern shirt. The box is battered, but the toy inside is like pristine. And this was only 50p. And I know one of my friends had this in his shop. There's a guy, you know, locally, and he sells sort of a lot of toys and collectibles. He had this in his shop for I think about 50 quid a couple of years ago. The price has plummeted on this. Is, you know, it's about 20 quid in this condition, which for 50p, you know, I'm not going to say is a bad find, but I thought it was worth a little bit more than that. But that's fine, it'll go quite quickly. Obviously the box being battered is devaluing, but I'll price it relatively cheap and it'll probably go pretty quickly, so that's fine by me, you know. We've got this right here. This is the sort of modern-ish reissue of Jumanji, and it's in really nice condition. You can see it's sort of it's unused. The pieces are sealed, the parts are unpunched. They had this in Tesco on clearance for about 15 quid not that long ago, so it doesn't hold a whole lot of value, but it didn't cost me very much. It was a couple of quid. That's a nice piece for like a convention or a toy fair. It's the sort of thing someone will come along and go, oh bloody hell, Jumanji, I love that film, and buy it. So that's why I picked it up. There's not a whole lot of money in it, but for what I paid, it was a nice little find. So we've got a couple of model kits. I had a couple more model kits as well, which my cousin's quite into model kits, so I sent them on with him. A couple of smaller ones, like a Spitfire and a tank or something, I can't really remember. But I picked up these as well. Whenever I find model kits, there always seems to be like a bunch of them at the same car boot sale, all from different vendors. You know, it's just how it works. When it rains, it pours in the world of me finding model kits at the car boot. So we have this one here, and I almost didn't even ask how much this one was. So it's 90 Years of Fighters, and it's a packet. You get like a, you know, those planes. As you just saw, it's unassembled. So this was in the guy's boot, and I saw it there, and I was thinking I might ask him how much it is. But the guy looked really intimidating. I'm not gonna lie. He looked like Bam Bam Bigelow, and he was sort of. He looked like if I asked how much it was, he was going to be like, fuck off. So I almost didn't ask him, but then I was like, how much do you want for that Airfix kit? And the guy was like, this thing, I don't know, quid. So I paid a quid for that, and that's quite a nice find. Won't be a super valuable item. It's probably worth £15, and we'll go very quickly. I don't like to keep these type of kits hanging around too long. It's not something I'm too interested in, so when I get them cheap, I like to just list them cheap, and they go very, very quickly. So that's how I like to do it with those. This one here is quite nice. This is more of a collectory one. This is a Revel USS Constitution, and this is a slightly older kit. This is probably from, I'm going to say it's probably from the 60s. It looks like it's sort of 1960s era. This is one of those kits, they've made this for years and years. I'm not going to open it, but that's pristine inside. And that was very inexpensive. That was a couple of quid, so that was really nice. That was just in a box of jigsaws. So a nice little find with that one. So yeah, a couple of model kits. This right here was a nice little find. Again, I saw it there and I asked how much they were. The lady was like, oh, it depends what you want. Some are 50p, some are 20p. And I was like, give you a £5 for the box. And she was happy with that. So yeah, I thought I'll just give her a £5 for the box, and I can have a little rummage through at home. Because there's all sorts of little bits and pieces, and I didn't really know what went with what, so I thought I'd just grab all of it and sort it out later. And by later, I mean I'll chuck it into my storage container there, and I'll probably get to it in about a year's time. It's probably what will happen in reality. But there's some nice stuff in it. You know, you can see there's some Bakugan. These are starting to pick up a bit of a collector following. We've got some Transformers. These are slightly newer ones. These are probably from the Beast Wars show. Some Turtles, which don't hold a whole lot of value. These are the ones from the sort of early 2000s. You can see it's not all in the best condition. Some of it is a bit battered, but some of it's pretty good. The Transformers look to be relatively complete. There's a bag of instructions and bits and pieces there. There's a little bag of Minions there. Don't know what else to say about that. But yeah, just, you know, £5 for that box. That'll probably be 1 or 2 bits in there of value to somebody. So we'll go to this little area here. I didn't pick up the suitcase for reference. This was I've just put this here to prop it up a little bit. This is the famous suitcase from a couple of weeks ago that had that like massive spider in. So yeah, a few little bits and bobs here. So we've got a Mr. Bean teddy. And this is one of the ones made by TY a few years ago, 2016. Not the most desirable items, but they always go very quickly, and that, I say, wasn't very much money. We've got a Jessie from Toy Story, and now she's missing her shoes. Not in the best condition, very loose. The outfit is a little dirty, but it does have the hat. And again, that was just in a box of random toys. It wasn't very much money, so I picked it up just for the hat, to be honest. You know, generally when I see them at the car boot, they're like this and they're not in very good condition. They don't normally have the hat. And the hat's always the piece that people seem to, you know, people buy the hat for a few quid on its own. So I thought it was worth picking up just for that more than anything. I picked up this dude right here. This is Duke Kaboom from Toy Story 4. Again, just in a box of random bits and bobs. It's in pretty nice condition. I think this came in a set that was sort of similar to Evel Knievel with a bike and the wind-up motor thing. So yeah, there's that. These are quite nice, and I can think of a few people that will probably be interested in taking one of these off my hands. This is a Ladybird book. It was made by Ladybird. The Lost World Jurassic Park sticker and colouring book from the time of the film, 1997. And I've got about 6 or 7 of them there, and they're in like mint unused condition. This was one of those stalls you get at every car boot sale where they're selling like socks and pants and all that type of, you know, like new household stuff. Probably picked up from like a liquidation pallet sale or something. And they had these there, and I just said, you know, what do you want for all of these? And they weren't too keen to do a deal. But I was thinking, you know, there's quite a few people out there who are very into Jurassic Park, and being that these are made by Ladybird, this is probably UK exclusive merch. So they weren't too keen to do a deal, but I picked them all up. I gave it as like a couple of quid each. And I actually can't find any of these anywhere on eBay or Google or anything. So it's probably quite a rare item. If you're interested in grabbing one of these off me, I'm probably not going to be asking too much for them, but I thought I'd just grab all of them in case someone out there wanted one. I mean, on eBay, I would probably ask sort of 15 quid, and I'm sure they'd go pretty well at that. But I don't mind doing them for a little less if you want to come and hit me up on Instagram or something. You know, there you go. Jurassic World books. I've got the entire world supply of them, so if you want one, 100 quid. No, obviously joking. So next up we've got these right here. This is a real shame because I know this is one of those objects. I've never actually found any of these, but this is one of those objects that just for some reason goes for quite a bit of money. This is the Morph Bookend Set. And this in good nick is worth about £50, and it's a real shame because he's not in very good condition. This one is missing the prongs, and Morph has had his arms broken and repaired. Again, the guy was a bit stubborn on the price for those. He wanted a £5, and I was thinking the condition is not great, but it's worth picking up for a £5. I figured that one just as a figurine, someone I'm sure will pick up for sort of 20, 25 on eBay, and I might be able to get a tenner for that one in bad nick. I'm sure someone could repair that a little better than it has been done, and it would be a good little display piece. So yeah, Morph Bookends, you know, one to look out for. Those are quite sought after. We've got a couple of, how are we going to do this? Let's move these out of the way so I've got a bit of room. We've got a few smalls here, so I picked up some belt buckles. There's always people at my local car boot selling pewter belt buckles, and they're always a bit of a finicky thing to sell, but I always pick up the cool ones, and they generally go eventually. They're not, as again, speaking generally, they're not worth a whole lot of money, but they do go occasionally. As I said, I pick up the ones that are cool when I see them. And this guy had loads that were more generic ones, but he had these free, and I got a little bundle deal on them. So we got this one here, which is just country western. You know, these are solid pewter, generally made in the USA in the sort of 1980s, 1990s. I think it was a bit of a collecting fad at one point. We've got this one here with General Custer, and we got this one here, which is a sort of horse riding cowboy themed one. So I got a little bundle deal on those. Not great, I say they're generally slow sellers, but I thought those three were quite cool. At that point I hadn't picked up very much, so I was just itchy to buy something. We've got these right here. Now this is one of those things that I was just thinking, like, what? You know, so this is just some old handmade nails. There's nothing too exciting really. I've been on a bit of a kick recently watching like metal detecting and like mudlarking videos, and these are quite a common object. This is just old handmade nails. You know, people that go metal detecting, people that go mudlarking will be very familiar with these. They're not exactly rare or hard to find, but they were just there. They've been treated with something. There's a chemical you can put on metal when it's been found in the ground, and it helps to preserve it apparently. So they've been covered in that, and they're in a bag. Now I got to the store, and the lady had some really nice vintage clothing, some old like blazers, and they weren't anything too exciting, but they were like they had like the embroidered patches on them. I'm not sure if they were like school ones or you know, they might have been old sort of work ones or something, I'm not too sure. But I was thinking they would have been really nice for like, you know, a TV studio or something, you know, old props. They wouldn't have had a whole lot of collector value or like decorative value or anything like that. It just would have appealed to like a sort of film prop house. And she had quite a few of them there. And there was a guy there, she only wanted like £5 each for our mind. And there was a guy there going like, oh, what about £2 each and I'll buy all of them. And she was like, yeah, all right, that's fine. So she let go of all these blazers for like basically no money at all. And then I find these old rusty nails, and I was like, how much do you want for these? And she was like, £3. So I was thinking, I'll give you £2 for them, just because I had a £2 coin. And she was like, oh, you know, £2, don't know really. And she did accept £2 for them in the end, but I was thinking, bloody hell, you just let go of all that good stuff for like basically no money at all, and you can't let go of these rusty old nails to me for £2. What a joke. I very rarely, this is a bit of a fact, I very rarely haggle on anything at the car boot. Generally I'll ask the price, and if it's, you know, you're at the car boot sale stuff, generally you're asking how much is this, it's £1, you know, I'm happy to pay £1 for that. But whenever I do haggle on something, there's always some kind of problem. That's probably why I don't haggle very often. You know, there's the odd items where I like, we'll get to these, those were a bit expensive and I haggled down a bit on those. But just things like this where it's more for, when I haggle, it's more for a sake of convenience. Like if I've only got a £2 coin in my pocket and they're asking £3, I'll ask, you know, take £2. But it's always a hassle. So there you go, a little bit of a factoid for you. Nothing too exciting here. I just thought it was a little ready-made bundle. A guy had a load of cassettes, and I picked up these 2 John Lennon ones. Pretty nice condition, but the cases are pretty battered. There's those 2. We picked up this Foss Troll. These are souvenir pieces from Denmark. There is a very strong collector market for these things. Some of the older ones are incredibly desirable. I've had this one a few times. He's not particularly valuable, but again, it was the right price. It was only a couple of quid. He's not in the best condition. These are made of a very hard sort of natural rubber, and you do find it cracks very easily. So when you find these, they're like this, which, you know, is devaluing, but the people that collect this stuff expect them to be a little bit cracked and that. But, you know, I say, it is the right price. It was a couple of quid. I'm always going to pick them up for that kind of money. This is one of my favourite things of the day. This is really cool. This is a sort of novelty teapot in the form of a witch. It looks like it's got a bit of age to it. You can see the crazing on it. There's no markings or anything. I don't think it's particularly old, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's maybe from the sort of 70s, 80s. I don't know. There's no markings on it. It's pretty generic, but it's pretty cool. And vintage Halloween stuff is something we don't really see here in the UK. So whenever I see anything a bit Halloweeny that's got a little bit of age to it, I always try and pick it up. So there's that. That was pretty cool. And that was a nice little find. These here is one of those, why did I pay that much for them, items of the week. We've got a little tiny bundle of old wargaming figures. I probably paid too much for these. For some reason, I paid £15 for this little bundle. I don't really know why, to be completely honest. The lady had a whole bag of little metal soldiers and bits and pieces. Mostly the ones that are made by West Air that you see in museums for sale. But there was a bunch of these slightly older wargaming minis. This is an old Games Workshop one, which is quite nice. Pre-Slaughter, rare OOP. And a few of these are just sort of generic wargaming ones. Some are a bit broken, some of them are missing pieces. And that is a Mighty Max figure, if I'm not mistaken. And she wanted £3 each for them, and I was like, come on. Some of them are broken, some of them are incomplete. So again, it was a bit of a struggle, but I whittled the woman down to £15 on those, which is still too much money, to be completely honest. But Alex, if you're watching, who is this? I'm sure you might know. So there you go, that's those. This is a cool little bundle. Again, really late in the day, I saw this like big old box of plastic farm animals, and this woman was rummaging for it, picking out some bits and pieces. And as she was there, you know, trawling through it, I was like, bloody hell, that's some cool stuff. So I was, you know, hovering around, you know, keeping that 2 meter distance, but trying to get a little look in the box to see what I was missing. And eventually the woman moved away, and I went in and had a little look, and I pulled out a few little bits. I gave £1 for this little pile, which is probably about right, to be fair. You know, there's some nice stuff here, but it's all a little bit broken. So we've got a Mark's Disneykin. I think that's the character from 101 Dalmatians, but her broom is broken. We've got one of these old, I can't remember where these were made, but these are quite sought after, but he's missing a hand. These little buildable Disney keyrings. So we've got a Scrooge McDuck minus his hand. Another character here, I don't think that's a Disney one, of an elephant. Can't remember the name of the company that made those, but I know some of them are quite sought after, but you know, obviously missing pieces, it won't be that much. I've got a little footballer cake topper I just chucked in the bundle. This is made by Lucky Toys. I believe that's a bootleg of one of the Corgi Silverstone figures. And here he is, made by Lucky Toys. He made a lot of bootleg Corgi toys. It was a Hong Kong company. They made sort of a scaled up plastic friction toys, just like stolen molds of the Corgi cars. We've got a few Timpo pieces here. That's quite an interesting piece. That is the legs for one of the stagecoach drivers. That's probably worth a £5 on its own. And then we've got a cowboy here, although I believe those are not those. Yeah, those probably are cowboy legs, to be fair. Look like chaps. Not too sure. But that is a last series head, which is quite nice. These are quite sought after, the ones which have the like jewel molded elements. So it's got like black hair, you know, flesh face, brown hat. These are quite sought after. That head is probably worth a £5 on its own. So quite a nice little find. If you get the rarer ones, some of them go for a lot of money. Sometimes you see on eBay these heads and they're going for like hundreds of pounds individually, but that's quite a common one. And this is really cool. Again, not a particularly valuable item, but really cool and just a fun find at the car boot sale. This is made by Charbons, who made a lot of toy soldiers back in the 60s. And this is a set they made that was called like Mod Fashion or something like that. And you got these little dolls, and you got like little plastic fashion pieces to stick onto them. So that's one of the little mini dolls from that set. Not a whole lot of value in it. You know, the whole set is not that expensive, but cool just to find the one figure on its own. Should have a base on it, which was unfortunately not there. So yeah, not too many more things to go now. We've only got sort of the more antique bits and the comics. So this is not a bad find. I picked these up for our good friend Dave over at Toy Polloi. The guy was really stubborn on the price on these. As I said already, I did haggle a bit on these, but I didn't get him down too much. As you can see here, vintage 60s action men, spares plus repair, £28. And as soon as I started looking at them, the guy was like, I'm not taking any less, or I can sell those on eBay. And he was being really stubborn and going, yo, I can sell that torso for 10 quid, I can sell that crotch for 5 quid. And I said to him, like, look, come on, we're at the car boot sale, you know, these are battered. I'll give you 25 for them, and I ain't going anymore. And he was like, yeah, go on then, I suppose. So I gave him 25 for the pair, and as I say, I had Dave from Toy Polloi in mind for these because, you know, they're a bit battered, but they're not beyond repair. I mean, this one's not too bad. He's got a few cracks, as the earlier ones tend to have. His arm's broken, but this is all replaceable parts. And his head looks like it's been grinded down a little bit. It's a little dirty, but that's not beyond repair. And then this one here, the painted eyes with the flocked hair. Again, that's not in bad condition, but he's got some like pinhole bullet wounds all over him. So yeah, I sent Dave a message and I was like, look, I paid 25 for these. If you're interested in them for that plus postage, I'm happy to just pass them on to you for that. And he was quite happy with that. So if you're interested to see these bad boys getting restored, and you're not already subscribed to Toy Polloi, I'd recommend going and checking out his channel, because he'll fix these up good and they'll look really cool. He's very talented with what he does with repairing and restoring old toys. So if you want to see these looking good again, go and have a gander at his channel. I'm sure I'll do a video on those soon enough once I've got those sent out. So yeah, a couple of Palatoy action men. Just, you know, to be completely honest, too much money for the car boot sale. But as I say, he was quite happy with them, and I was happy to pass them on for what I paid. So we got some comics over here. These were separate. These were like, you know, a few pence each. We've got a Batman and Robin annual, probably from the 70s. These UK annuals over here are not very desirable. People don't really want them generally. You see boxes of them at the car boot. Generally nothing too exciting. You generally get, you know, like the shoot annuals, like football related stuff, but I do pick up the more interesting ones when I see them. People abroad do collect them. They don't go for a lot of money, but people do buy them. You know, they'll pay maybe a £5+ postage to America for something like this. So there's Batman and Robin. It's not in the, it's pretty good nick, to be fair. There's a few pen marks and stuff, but as I say, that was like 50p, and I picked this up just because it looks so bloody, like, come on. Angler's Mail Annual 1982 by Fleetway. This just looks sort of quite funny, so I picked it up as a, like a joke present for myself, I suppose. I'll probably never look at it, but I just thought it was quite funny that there's an annual for this, like, fishing magazine. So there you go, there's that. So this right here, this was, again, this was a pretty nice find, to be completely honest. I thought I'd missed out on these. I got to the store and there's this guy there looking through them. I see this guy at the car boot all the time. He sort of looks around the car boot, haggles and tries to get stuff for pennies and then flips it on his own stall. And I saw him flicking through this box, and the guy wasn't after a whole lot of money for these. He wanted 50p each, which I suppose is not, is, you know, they're not worth a whole lot more than that, to be completely honest. But I was sort of hanging around and he was flicking through them, and I saw the guy putting them back in his car, so I figured he's bought them. But I'll go back around just in case he hasn't bought them. And I went back around about an hour later, and I was speaking to the stall holder, and he said that the guy had, like, bought them, but he hadn't paid for them, and he was going to come back around for them, but he hadn't paid for them, and he was pretty convinced he wasn't going to come back around. So I said to him, you know, if he doesn't come back around, I'm going to be here for a bit, I'll buy them for 40 quid. And sure enough, I went back around and the guy hadn't picked them up. So I bought this box for 40 quid. These are British issue Marvel comics. I haven't really looked through them yet. Mostly, I believe, from the early, you know, sort of mid-70s. So there's a lot. The UK comics are not too desirable. As you can see, they're a slightly different format to the American ones. They're formatted more like a magazine. They're a little bit bigger, and these generally don't hold a whole lot of value. Some of them do if they've got covers that are the same as, say, like, say there's an issue of Avengers. The American issue's worth a few hundred quid. If you've got the English or you know, the English edition of it from the same time with the same cover, that might be worth a few pounds, but they don't reach the same value as the American ones do. But there's a lot of stuff in there. Avengers, there's a lot of Fantastic Four, there's quite a few Tomb of Dracula and, like, Curse of Dracula. I don't want to flick through them with one hand too much, because as you can see, they are in really nice condition. I don't want to mess them up, but there's a lot of stuff in there. And again, very similar to the annuals. Here in the UK, people don't really collect this stuff, but when I've had them in the past, they do sell quite well and they'll go abroad. So I will probably bundle these up, put cheap postage for international buyers, and I'm sure they will sell abroad, which is fine. I know there's an issue of the Dracula one that's quite desirable because it's the first appearance of Moon Knight, but I'm not sure if I've got it in here. I haven't actually looked through them yet. So yeah, there you go, load of comics, 40 quid. Quite a nice little find. I was quite happy with those. I've got a couple of minutes left to show you my antique purchases. I won't dwell on these too long. I've got about 1.5 minutes left to go. Le Creuset fondue set. Le Creuset is a sort of, if you're not familiar with it, sort of posh brand of saucepans. They're like enamelled cast iron. I've had many of these fondue sets in the past, and whenever I find them, they're always like this, mint condition, unused in the box. I gave 7 quid for that. It will probably take 10 months to sell because they always sell around Christmas time. But they, you know, that'll be £100 easily when it goes. That's what I generally get for those. Got this West Ham Royal Navy embroidered piece, hand embroidered. It looks like bullion thread, but it isn't. But that's a really nice piece. It's not particularly old. It's from the 80s, but that was really cool. We've got this really nice plaque here. This is, I'm not sure if it's chalkware or plaster. And I can't remember the name of this scene, but it's quite a popular thing you get on plaques and stuff. That's really nice. And then I've got this. I generally don't buy furniture because, you know, it's big, it takes up room. I don't know a whole lot about it, but This little child's chair, probably Victorian. It's got the original springs and the horsehair inner, and it's in really nice condition. That only cost me £3. Those are very popular with doll and teddy bear collectors. You know, they sit them on them, so they're always popular. I'll probably send that to auction, to be honest. That's how I get a shot of that one. So there you go, that's the haul for today. I'm gonna round this up very quickly because I've only got like a few seconds left. Cheers for watching. Stay tuned till next week. I will be doing another car boot haul video, assuming that's how I go. So cheers for this one. I'll put my Instagram link in the description, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.